Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first MLG event of the year. It is time for the Winter Championships live from Dallas, Texas. My name is Day 9.
And I'm DJ Wheat, and I am so excited to kick things off. I think the obvious needs to be stated. This is the first major Heart of the Swarm competition since its release on Tuesday.
These players have literally had 3 days of refresher practice time. The beta did go down on March 1st. Those last few days have been absolutely critical, not just to figure out their new strategies, but also to get all that retraining back in, make sure that muscle memory is back up to par, because $75,000 is on the line for this competition.
And Sean, I mean, when was the last time that a game was released and 3 days later there was a tournament for $75,000? I know that Wings of Liberty kind of paved the way, right? But it's awesome to think here we are 3 days after the launch of Heart of the Swarm. $75,000 back on the line again. And there's the breakdown. First place, just like last season, 25,000 into 15 into 9. And then, of course, it goes down from that point, totaling $75,000.
Yeah, and I mean, what you're bringing up, I think, is a really important point about that this is right out the gate, and the stakes are super high. Plenty of games have had a right out the gate inaugural event for maybe a $5,000 prize pool, maybe sometimes a $10,000 prize pool, but here's $75,000. And in fact, the structure of this MLG is quite a bit different from the last ones. The old MLGs emphasized the open bracket. There were some players invited, but primarily it was 200 to 500 people showing up and battling their way through to get to the finals 3 days later. Here, it's 32 players, 4 of whom qualified from the last Dallas Fall Championships, and 28 who have been qualifying by battling in the beta in those winter season showdowns you've been seeing all January and February.
Right now, and of course that translates into a 32-player single elimination bracket here at the Winter Championships. Now you might be like, oh my God, 32 players, and I've seen the list, that's insane. The loser is out, but it's best of 5 until the final, which is, of course, a best of 7. So it's certainly some change, but what it means, Sean, is that every match is going to be damn good. There's just not, it's going to be impossible to show you a bad match.
And, you know, I love single elimination. Genuinely, truly. I mean, not just as a fan, but even when I played competitively, single elimination means that when you sit down, you're playing against that one player, and you can prepare against the one player. In the previous MLGs, a lot of players talked about just needing to have a lot of endurance and general good game sense.
Right.
You had no idea what race you would be up against next round, let alone in one of the 20 rounds you wound up having to play. But for instance, the next match we have coming up, a PVT, both players can essentially train straight up for that. Top 16, of course, is a prize payout.
Now let's talk about the players.
I mean,
let's take a look at them. You got 32. You're like, what 32 players are going to be here? We're going to go through them right now, starting with the players that qualified from, of course, the last event. And those include
Flash, Bomber, Leenock, and Life, 4 of the most popular players out there, 4 of the best. I mean, a lot of people remember that Terrans were falling left and right against Zergs and Wings of Liberty, but Flash and Bomber continued time and time again to crush. Life pulled an incredible comeback against Flash in an extended series. Life also pulling an incredible comeback against Leenock in that extended series. Just an absolutely stellar starting 4 players.
I kick it off with that. That moves us into then the Kespa players. Now, of those that qualified, certainly some names you're going to recognize. Rain, Innovation. He'll be a part of the first match that we've seen last. Hero, that's, of course, CJH's Hero. And Parting. Now, look at some of the players that they defeated. I want you guys to keep a close eye on that, because you're going to note that it wasn't an easy path here, period.
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny to note that as we go through all of these qualification lists, you will know the qualified players just as much as you'll know the players who barely missed it. I like to point out Roro recently won a GSL, Fantasy, Ty Flying, all extremely strong old Brood War players moved on over. But I think in particular, Solky is considered by many to be probably the strongest StarCraft player to have moved over to StarCraft 2, at least in practice. Hasn't quite shown the results, but of course did really well in the recent MLG versus Pro League Invitational Tournament. And last is one player on that list that you may not have heard of as much as the others. I think this could be a really big breakout tournament for him.
Well, of course, that leaves us with the ESF player. We've still got many more to go through, but the ESF players, Creator makes it through, Seed is here, Jockg, MVP, and Marine King. And again, you talked about look at the opponents they defeated. Yeah, Nestea, DRG. I mean, every single one of Sniper Curious and Gumiho, all of them have earned their spot in sort of the top when it comes to StarCraft 2. But the ESF path, equally as difficult.
It's kind of crazy to actually look at the list of the qualified and the defeated. There's 3 or so championships for just MLG among them.
Yeah.
And of course, MVP has so many medals that if he went swimming, he would drown Marcus.
That's a good one.
Now, I do want to note, Jockg, I'm very excited to see him back. He is the most forgotten GSL champion, having defeated Leenock 4-2. He defeated Dongray Gu to get here, and Dongray Gu, as many of you know, is good.
Yeah, and an MLG champion. So, I mean, he breaks through that initial barrier right away.
Yeah, so Jockg, absolutely excited to see him play.
Now, what about our what about our Korean players on Western teams?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's been a lot more intermingling among Korean players and international players joining one another's teams. These 3, no strangers at all to the crowd. MC, Taeja, and Pult will all be here playing today. But Violet, Hero, and Alive, 3 other crowd favorites, missed the mark.
Yeah, and you know, we were talking about it earlier, is that it just seems almost odd. Like, there's certain names that you expect to be in an MLG. DRG, Violet. It's just someone, you know, it's like you're going to turn into an MLG, you're going to see that player probably play against another player. Not here, and again, just to show how difficult it was to get here through the qualification process.
Now let's move on to some of the North American players that you know and love. This list includes a lot of surprises. North and South American players alike. Minigun defeating Idra 3-0. Huck, Suppy, Vibe. I think a lot of people are not surprised to see them here, but Vibe taking out Illusion, who's considered one of the best non-Koreans. Killer from Latin America, from Chile, just an amazing all-around player. Really excited to see him play here because, you know, you think about the travel times between USA and Korea, but you really think about the travel times from USA to South America, which is just about the same amount of distance. Yeah, so it's very difficult to see. Killer at a lot of international tournaments. State defeating Phoenix, and Gosu User, who's been on an absolute tear lately. Really excited to see him.
There's a lot of Zerg representation in there, I'm just realizing. Let's take a look at the EU players. And, of course, SEA included with this particular set of qualified players. Sase is here defeating Snoot, Baby Knight, Stefano, Bly, Thorzane, Rhett, Feast, and Sen are all here from EU SEA regions. And again, I know we're sounding like a broken record, but my God, Snoot out. Mana out, Sake out, Nurchio out.
Yeah, I mean, Sake is known as one of the lower bracket champions. I mean, he tore through, I think Sake, I'm not positive, I think Sake is in the top 3 for the most Korean knockouts of the foreigner list. Because he is just,
I think you're right.
Took out Dongray Gu at MLG Anaheim recently, tore through 3 Koreans in his last run in the lower bracket. And another player who's not here, Feast, actually defeated Grubby in that last chance qualifier match to be able to get here. So really, really strong results all around.
That is a crazy player list. StarCraft 2 fans here at MLG Winter Championship, I hope that you're excited to view a few of these do intense battle here up on the stage.
Are you ready, ladies and gentlemen?
Maybe they need to see the bracket in full.
You know, I think players don't make sense until you throw the brackets in there, until you see the conflict that is to come. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Here is the full 32-player bracket. We're going to be doing these one quadrant at a time. So let's go ahead and start off looking at the top left side of this bracket. Life going up against Minigun, Pult, Creator, Stefano last, and Thorzane versus Killer.
And all of these are matches that I would have a tough time choosing which one I would want to watch. Obviously, there's a few that stick out. I mean, immediately, Thorzane Killer is going to be a foreigner-foreigner matchup, and Europe versus South America. That's kind of cool. But Stefano last is certainly one I have my eyes on. And of the top, I mean, the potential to see what Life is going to do coming out of this, I think, is obviously...
Yeah, Life has won every single major tournament he has entered for 4 months. Pult, Creator, Pult just absolutely terrifying Terran versus Protoss. No matter what the metagame is, Pult does his own unique style, really aggressive. Creator known as an excellent defensive player, but even players like Liquid Hero, Pult defeated 3-0 to be able to qualify for here. Really interested to see Stefano last, because Stefano is such a well-known player, and last is such an unknown player. Thorzane Killer, honestly, looks a little bit like Thorzane has the clear advantage, given the fact that so many Zergs are struggling to figure out what to do with some of those new units.
Let's take a look at the lower part of this quadrant now, as we are starting to run out of time. We're going to get closer and closer to this first game. We've got MC versus the Cuspa hero, Feast versus MVP, Tasia versus Sase, and Gosu user taking on Bomber.
I absolutely think that the Tasia Sase match is the highlight one of that bracket.
Yeah, and you know, I just want to point out here, there are some matchups in there that I would kind of expect certain outcomes from Wings of Liberty. But the fact that we are in Heart of the Swarm, I think that there's some toss-ups in here that will make it a little bit more difficult to call who could be coming out on top. And we'll see that throughout the entire bracket, but it's certainly something that's in the back of my mind the whole time.
Yeah, as we head on up to the top right side of the bracket, there's a lot of popular players up in the top. Flash versus Bly. Flash considered the best Brood War player, the god of Brood War, going up against Bly, winner of WCS Ukraine with absolutely psycho crazy strategies. Suppy versus Rhett, two really favorited players on EG and Liquid respectively. Sen versus Vibe. Vibe, the North American second place, the USA champion. Sen, the legend, whom I curse all the time. He always gets third whenever I cheer him on, so I'm going to do my hardest to wish Sen just a fine tournament experience, and hopefully he'll win. State versus Parting. Parting, known for having his killer PvP.
And let's take a look at the last part of the bracket. We've got MKP taking on Jakji, Seed versus Rain, Huck versus Innovation, which is going to be our first matchup of the evening, and Baby Knight taking on Lena,
which is our second match of the evening. I have no problem squealing in public, Marcus, as long as it's about StarCraft 2. And you know, now that we've wrapped up the sort of look at the brackets, I do need to note what is probably my favorite thing about this entire tournament, the fact that the entire crowd is right there. Hi. That feels so nice,
You can
Marcus.
like reach out and touch them, Sean.
Dude, I could, except I am bolted to this chair because I am a dedicated caster, Marcus, but maybe someone will come over and touch me.
Maybe. Let's take a look at the schedule first, Sean.
Yes.
The schedule, of course, this is just for Friday. Each day we'll be posting a brand new schedule showing the activities of Saturday and Sunday. Friday, kicking off here on the Red Stream, Huck versus Innovation, Baby Knight versus Lenok, followed by MKP and Jakji. Finally, Flash versus Bly. But don't forget, we've got twice the stream action because the blue stream is in operation as well. And
keep in mind, these times are approximate setups. We are going to make sure that we bring you as many matches as quickly as possible. There's actually 2 booths set up on the main stage, so that way the next round matches can be set up promptly. And of course, over on Stream Blue, I have to give a shout out to 2 of the most beautiful casters of all time. Husky Starcraft and Total Biscuit will be kicking off Stream Blue. So if you're at home, make sure you have both streams open. If you are here live, make sure you have a mobile device open.
Yeah, I already saw a few people doing that. So up next here, we're going to have, of course, Huck versus Innovation. But don't forget the whole competition being brought to you in 720p free HD, but the option to buy that HD pass is there and ready for you. For $9.99, you get, of course, the no-ad experience, up to 1080p, both live and the VOD archives, a huge selection of subscriber-only emoticons, including the face of Sundance, which is pretty awesome. I was using that last night. Custom chat badge starts your subscription, and of course all of your daily MLG content, which you can find from MajorLeagueGaming.com in 1080p and ad-free.
Yeah, and in fact, I think the biggest benefit of that is that you get instant access to everything. I know it's so easy to get caught up in one match, or if you only have one monitor, or you didn't realize that there was another match going on and you slept in. You can have access to everything whenever you want. And of course, you can see this brisket stain on my shirt really crisply in 1080p.
It's in high definition.
Yes.
It is. It is. So, Day 9, Heart of the Swarm. This is the first official major tournament since release. You know.
And you know, it's so unclear what a lot of the new strategies are, what a lot of the new goals are. A lot of the races are having sort of different toss-ups with how to use units. A lot of Terran players feel it's clear how you use the Hellbat. It's fairly straightforward. A lot of the Zerg players are still struggling to figure out how to use the Swarm host. It's not so strong defensively, but... Except what, Marcus?
Except Stefano today tweeted that he believes he has unlocked the secrets of late game ZVP. And I'll tell you what, I'm ready. Show him.
Mothership Core opens up nearly infinitely many more attack options. Before, there were timing pushes that you couldn't do as Protoss, not because you would die, or not because they were ineffective, but because you didn't know what the result would be. If your opponent built too many drones, you'd win. If your opponent built too many units, you'd lose everything. But now you can always do those kinds of attacks and recall back with the Mothership Core. Zerg has the ability to get, I call it early hive tech with the Viper. They don't have to wait for the late hive tech like with the Broodlords. The Swarm host can act like a mid-tier Broodlord in that sense as well. And of course, Speed Reapers, Mech, all are a possibility. Your old strategies from Wings of Liberty still going to be strong. Totally new strategies in Heart of the Swarm we haven't even seen. And it's the best of the best, duking it out for our entertainment.
Guys, you can find the schedule, the brackets, more information, the stream, the VODs, everything over at MajorLeagueGaming.com. And we are seconds away from our first match in StarCraft 2, both on the blue stream and the red stream. Over on the red stream, we're going to have Huck taking on Innovation to kick off the round of 32. There's Huck right now preparing for his matchup. Sean, are you ready?
Marcus, I am. Ladies and gentlemen, when we come back, it's time for the first best of 5 of the MLG StarCraft 2 Winter Championships.